Well, there goes my day. I can see that the last bolt down the back there is missing. And this one was coming out nicely, and that just happened to be. Oh, man. So this is what's going on in the shop today, guys. We have a WM Caprice 6 litre. Say hello, it's a nice car. Big wheels, the usual deal. It's already got an OTR on it too. That's pretty cool. We're hooking it up. We're going to do some Hurricane headers, high flow cats, and then we're using X-Force catback on this one. So I'll just sort of run you through it, walk it through, make sure we don't miss too much, and you get a general idea of how to do it and what it's going to sound like at the end. I've already taken the exhaust out, actually cut most of it. It's actually pretty bad. It's never been touched. So I'm just in here getting the list apart now, just carefully taking these leads off. Really careful with these. This end's not too bad, but this end it's so easy to pop the electrode piece out of the inside of this. So just lots of twisting, making sure they're broken on the seal before you try and rip them. These aren't the originals; they're a red color, so I'm pretty confident they'll come apart. Usually the stock originals can give you some grief, so that's that. This side all we're going to worry about is removing the dipsticks, 15mm on here, 13mm nuts, bolts holding the header on there, and the whole header and cat assembly will drop out the bottom of the car. Other side's much easier, there's no dipstick, so that'll come out the same way. So with the dipstick out, just pop him out like normal, wipe the oil off, doesn't make a mess. Undo the 15mm retainer bolt, this side of the cylinder head there, it's that fellow. We just give this guy a bit of a jiggle, then he just pops out like so. Work him out around a few things there. He doesn't want to come out for me, does he? So yeah, rip that guy out and he'll go back in with the new headers. A little bit tricky to put in. It's been a little bit tricky to get out. I might need 2 hands. Well, there goes my day. I can see that the last bolt down the back there is missing. And this one was coming out nicely, and that just happened to be. Oh man. This job is full of broken bolts. Crushed dreams. So now I've got to go in there and get them out. Keep you posted on this one. Alright, I haven't known anything about those bolts yet. That's my next dilemma. But I've put the car up to get the manifold and the cat converter out, which leaves us with a lovely big hole. The new pieces don't go in quite as easily. We're going to have to disconnect our steering. So what we want to do is make sure it's locked off up the top so that we can't rotate the wheel and do a cock spring. And then there's simply a 13mm. You reach through the chassis rail up here and you can easily get to the 13mm over there. Where are we? And drop that. That's going to make life really difficult. Okay, I'll try watching it instead of watching the camera. There you go. It's just in there. Undo that fellow, steering just slides out neatly, and we're all good there. Okay, that was really trying. That's one out. So all we do is weld, build up some weld in the end of the broken stud where you can see it. Bring it out pretty much the depth of that nut head. Slide the nut head over it, weld the top face of that, and that gives us something to reconstruct the nut with this bolt in this case, or stud. But yeah, it's rather hot today, and that was just a freaking mission to get out. So I'm glad that's done. But I still have another one. Down there in the front, I have another one. So time to get after that guy. So that's the front offender. Can't see it so well because of the torch, but you can see the open port there, and it's the one right in front of it. Try and get in there. That guy. So he started coming undone and then just went very loose very fast. You can see in there, that's my build up. So I've just used the welder and built up the stud. And then I'll slide the nut over the top of that, weld those two together. Hopefully I've got just enough weld on the end of that bolt. I keep saying stud, sorry about that. These do run a bolt, not a stud. Hopefully I've got just enough weld into that bolt and it'll all grab and unwind. It did come pretty easily till it broke, so here we go. Okay, now you can see my nut welded on. I did get a little bit offsided there with a bit of weld. It's very hard to see in there. So hopefully a socket's going to grab that, and then have to go size up, probably a 15 or a 16 to deal with that blob. But hey, never know, it might help me. Okie dokie, so this one's actually coming really nicely. I'm using a 9/16, so that big ass blob I put on there. I'm just going to take it really slow. Thankfully, unlike the back one, this one did start coming out before it broke. What happens is these bolts stretch over time and they pull on the thread. It's pretty common in these LS motors to have this particular issue. Generally, I ever get one in like 10 that have one broken. To get 2 this morning is pretty sucky. But anyway, this is working a treat. Like I say, normally when they come and you break one, it's not so bad. But yeah, anyway, 2-hand job for that. We'll get that out and we'll be all good. That right there is what you call 2 for 2. That was that rear one. It was a real bugger. But this little fella going the first time, so thank God for that. Let's get back to the original program. With the steering disconnected, it was sort of flopped to one side there. That'll be much easier to get our headers in and out. Just going to undo our 2 starter bolts and just drop our starter motor down a little bit. I'm going to slide that header up on in. I've already cleaned up the mating face and we'll be done on this side. So the extractors just slide up from the underside. Use a front and rear bolt to hold the gasket in place. On the topping of the gasket, use a tin gasket. Don't use a multi-layer or anything like that as far as like a composite gasket. If you use a multi-layer, make sure it's a multi-layer tin, the genuine gasket. It will seal the best for the longest. I recommend it highly. So what we're going to do is use some new studs. Oh, it's new studs. Jeez, I've got studs on the brain today. We're going to use some new bolts. These are just your basic extractor bolt. They're an M8 by 1.25, and then I coat them in anti-seize as well. It's going to help them, you know, last a lot longer. If you ever need to pull it apart, it'll all come apart beautifully. So that's it. We'll lay some of these little guys up, and we'll move on. Alright guys, today's header choice is the Hurricane 1 7/8 4x1. Really, really awesome header. I haven't shown you too much on this side because as you can see we've got heaps of room. This bad boy just goes straight up and in. And that's how it looks when we come back up the top. So they just sit nicely on these cutouts in the header so that you can put your front and rear bolts in and they sit up in there straight up from the underside. Super duper simple. You will also notice today we have got a ceramic coated header. These are a black ceramic coating. We get them done locally by a company called East Coast Performance Coatings. They do a really great double coat inside and out. They are a nice thick layer that's going to really last a long time and, you know, keep the performance in the header. So I'm just going to go lace it up with some bolts. I did break a plug lead. These have a bad habit. When you go to remove them, you pull on them, it yanks the center out of them and stays behind the spark plug, which is what happened to the last cylinder on this one. Not a fun spot. So he'll get a nice new spark plug lead. I always give people the option. You can either replace the one that broke, or we can go through and put a whole set in there. Today we are just doing the one that broke. So we'll get all that done, get it all buttoned up. I've just got the dipstick on the other side to put back in, and we're done in the engine bay. Turtle shell goes back on, and we start on the underside of the car. Whenever fitting headers to a VE, this little fellow here, your O2 sensor, is going to move considerably further back to the base of the header, as opposed to being, you know, right underneath the manifold. So you'll need this extension right here. This little guy is just going right up the back of the block there. Not sure if you can see that far up. And it's going to space it down so that we can have the sensor back here. So don't ever forget that. And definitely plug him in before you fit the header, because getting your arm up there is not a lot of fun. There's a great big hole before you put the header in. So don't mess it up. Rock on! Turtle shell's back on! Time to get the rest of the exhaust sorted, man. The Hurricane headers fit up in the car. On this particular car, at the customer's request, we're using an X-Force 3-inch catback. Really awesome system, 409 stainless. As you can see, it's round pipe that goes through the car. They're a nice system. I'm going to make up the cat pipes to marry the two systems together. The Hurricane headers are a little bit longer, and the X-Force catback system would normally go further forward. So we'll make up those couple of bits, and we're getting somewhere on this sucker. You know you bought the right system when there's a smiley face on the box. I don't know if someone at X-Force has a great sense of humor, or that's happened in transit, but that's kind of cool. So I got the muffler out. Blue. I'll just open up this guy here, and this is going to be our tips. One thing X-Force love is packaging. We've got this motto where you can never package something enough. Inside here is more packaging, which is inside this packaging. So, oh, tips shiny. Look at that. It's very hard one-handed. Hang on, hold on. There you go. So that's our X-Force tips. twin 3-inch polished 304 stainless. So yeah, I'll just put all these bits together and we'll have an exhaust, I guess. This section here is the middle. It comes in 2 pieces, obviously for freight. The system you'll take out, your stock system, is one big long piece. That's purely because for packaging, they break it down into smaller pieces and it's cheaper to ship. So the best way to install this, and the hot tip for the day, is bolt it together on the ground here. And then when you transfer it up to the car, you got your 2 hangers at the rear there. And these fellows here on the cross member, you just get the whole lot up in there hanging. It's going to sit really nicely. And you can start doing your rear mufflers. And if you're using the X-Force headers, you can do your front connection. That's going to be a little bit funky though. So that's the hot tip for the day. Alright, a little bit of fast forward action here, but the cat's all in and done. The X-Force system I've cut short. We've used a Hurricane cat converter. I like the long transition of the Hurricane cats, and they just made up nice with the Hurricane headers. Just use blank flanges, welded all together. I've relocated our secondary O2 sensor back here. Same on the opposite side. So I can now fit up the O2 stoppers, and we'll get this show on the road. I'll just show you what I cut off actually, whilst we're at it. So this one would have gone here. So we're missing yay much, because where that flange location there is where the stock system goes to. The cat converters for the X-Force system come to here, and they run a really short header. But we want to run a long tube header on this car. It's going to produce a lot more torque, and it's going to be much nicer. So I'll grab some cat stoppers and then move on to the back of the system. This little fella here is what we call a cat stopper, O2 extender. There's a few names floating around, some of them better than others. I just call it a cat stopper. It stops cat lights from coming on. So when we do a total aftermarket exhaust system on pretty much any car, we'll use one of these, so that even if it is going to be tuned, we'll make sure the car leaves you with no lights on, because that's undesirable. So it's very simple. It does 2 things. It's going to move the path out of the exhaust somewhat to reduce the flow, so it conquers one issue. And it also has, where's the camera? I don't know if you can see inside there. This first section has catalytic material, Euro 5 cat material in it. So the sensor thinks everything's still okay. Now all it does is it screws in here, which is where your secondary sensor goes, like so. And then your secondary sensor, which I've tucked up here, will screw back into there. Just like that. We'll do them up nice and tight. Another one on this side, and then that's just solved our cat light issue. Way nicer. We are getting to the pointy end of this little stick here. So we've done everything up the front. My O2 sensors, extensions, cat stoppers, cats are welded. Woo, that stuff's done, thank God. Those couple of studs in the head weren't much fun either. To set these mufflers up, they have a bracketry system. We just adjust those up and down till we get our mufflers sitting exactly where we want them. We're going to lock off those flanges and set the tips, and we get to hear this thing. Rightio, tips are on. We're ready to bring it out and fire her up.